History made by the Indian women's team. History awaits the Indian women's team on Sunday in that final against England. For more on this historic moment in Indian cricket, we are joined by Sudha Shah, former coach of the Indian women's team, and Gaurav Kalra, senior editor, ESPN Cricinfo. Ms. Shah, I'm going to begin with you. 12 years back, you were coach of the Indian team, which made its only World Cup final before this year in 2005. Today, they have made the final yet again this year in 2017. This is a huge moment for the game in India.
Yes, it is. I mean, in 2005, even nobody really expected us to get to the finals. And even here, I think, we hadn't qualified for the World Cup at the beginning, and then we had to go for the qualifying round. But the girls really played very good cricket.
Gaurav Kalra is also part of the show tonight. Gaurav, you had held a media training session for this team before they departed for the World Cup. Could you have called at that point that this lot of the Indian women's team could go all the way on this historic run and make it right to the business end of this competition?
Well, at the time, while conducting this session, if it was only about confidence, Yash, or about belief, or about camaraderie, there was no doubt. I mean, this is a terrific bunch of players. They are very, very even-keeled, but also, they seem to enjoy each other's company. And that came through very clearly in that couple of hours that I spent with them. But then at the end of the day, as Sudha will tell you, this is a game of skill. And it is in that department that this women's team has absolutely astounded us because they have shown such remarkable improvement in their skill levels in the last few years. Women's cricket was always around in India, but I think in the last few years we've seen as the game has evolved, we've seen the power hitting coming in, and we've seen fitness levels improve. We've also seen players now really, take to situations and excel in them. And the culmination of all of that, Yash, was that performance by Harmanpreet, which has really now taken this to another level in India. And it's very, very clear that no matter what the result on Sunday, I think women's cricket has established a place in the hearts and minds of Indian people now.
So the Gaurav just mentioned the skill factor, and it was an unreal, astounding level of skill. If we talk personally, individually about Harmanpreet Kaur, possibly one of the greatest knocks in any knockout World Cup game, irrespective of gender. Where do you rate it, and how special was that innings in the history of Indian cricket?
I think right from 75 till today, I haven't seen a knock like this. I mean, I've always known that Harman's very talented, and it was so good to see her, attack the ball the way she did. And it wasn't like, it was quite effortless really. I mean, it was just her timing and the choice of shots, and she really did it well yesterday. I mean, talking of skills, yes, the girls have really improved a lot. BCCI has given them a lot of facilities now. So, I mean, it's so good that, they're coming, right now they're really doing well.
Gaurav, I know comparisons, in particular when they come between different realms of sport, are difficult. It's something we put you on earlier this week when we had that debate on the greatest sportsperson of all time on WION Sports. I'm going to put you under the spot once again, Gaurav. We've seen, you've seen so many epic Indian innings. I'm talking the men's game as well as the women's game. Harmanpreet Kaur's knock yesterday, does it rank among the best all time by any Indian cricketer?
Oh, yeah, definitely, Yash. I don't even think it's putting anyone under the spot when you say that. You just have to look at the context. I mean, India batting first in a shortened game. It's a World Cup knockout game against a team that's won 6 of the 10 World Cups so far. They are by far and away the best team in the world. They've absolutely destroyed India in the group stage. And Harmanpreet Kaur comes in and plays that innings at the end. India have lost Mithali Raj for not a lot. Their talent talisman in a sense, the batsman that they turn to as a team. And she did not just go helter-skelter. She actually played that innings in a very measured, a short way. The first 50 was considered. She took her time getting there. And then when she started attacking the ball, that at that time the Australians had absolutely no answer. And I think this is something that I'm very curious to ask Sudha in particular. Six hitting, that was not something that you associated with the women's game. And, it didn't seem like it was a natural thing to see in the women's game. We saw a lot of that from Harmanpreet, but we've seen that in the tournament, haven't we? So that we've seen that yesterday with Alex Blackwell as well. Then we saw it with Veda in the previous game. We've seen it with the other players. We've seen it with Stephanie Taylor of the West Indies. That's something that's really now come into the women's game. This power hitting, the ability to clear the boundary.
Sudha, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, actually, when we were playing cricket, if we, played in the air, the coach would say, play along the ground. So none of us used to really, try for those sixes. It was mostly driving along the ground. But now these girls are, doing that. And I think, their fitness levels are so much higher. They, they go to the gym and they work on their strength and everything. And I think that's showing now.
Yeah.
Gaurav, so we can harp as much praise on what transpired yesterday, and it probably wouldn't be enough. But looking ahead now, the final, you take on England, who are obviously a very strong team, one of the form teams in the women's game. There is the confidence, though, for the Indian team of having beaten them in the tournament opener, and add to that the fact that this is a unit where almost everyone has contributed. There are 4 centurions in the Indian team. There are 4 different bowlers with 8+ wickets. It's a very all-round team heading into that big clash.
Yes, Yash, also look at what they've done in the last 2 games. Both have been knockout situations. I mean, not just Australia, the game against New Zealand in the group stage was a knockout game as well, which India really came through in flying colours. They absolutely decimated New Zealand in that game. So they've won both these games handily. So they are playing very well as a unit. The batsmen are doing well. Chulan bowled a magic ball yesterday to dismiss Meg Lanning. And it's a Lord's final. It's a big occasion. England will go in as favourites, knowing that the entire country is looking at them. There'll be a full house. India should just go out there and actually enjoy this moment. This is perhaps the greatest moment in the history of women's cricket in India, and I think it's a tipping point for the sport in particular, because female athletes in the last 10 or 12 years have really kind of captured the imagination. We've seen Saina Nehwal, Sania Mirza, PV Sindhu, Sakshi Malik, all of these athletes come through, and I think this set of girls is ready to take their place among that set of athletes. I think there's an absolutely nothing to lose situation here. They've already come much further than was imagined initially. Remember, Yash, they have beaten England, Australia and New Zealand in this tournament. All 3 of those teams are ranked above them in the ICC rankings. What's there to lose?
Right. It is a truly momentous occasion for women's cricket, as Sudha Shah and Gaurav Kalra have rightly brought it out. On that note, Sudha, Gaurav, I'll thank you both for your time. Let's hope we have a lot more to discuss come Sunday when India play that Women's World Cup final.